What's up, brothers? Craig James here from thefamilyalpha.com, on Twitter at CraigJamesTFA. Had a fantastic discussion last night with Adam Lane Smith. Recorded an episode of the Family Alpha podcast that will be dropping early next week. And we talked about men reinventing themselves in marriage. So men who have spent time in marriage with their wives, developing themselves and establishing a framework of being a blue pill beta, and then taking the red pill and reestablishing themselves in that marriage under that new framework, under a man who is taking personal responsibility, who understands the nature of women in hypergamy, and who wants to do his part in that intersexual dynamic to make sure that the marriage is a success in and outside of the bedroom. And one of the concepts that we talked about that I want to flesh out a little bit here this morning is two things: the concept of married dread and competition anxiety, and the two go hand in hand. So we talk about dread. Dread games are a powerful tool in a man's arsenal when he's in a relationship with a woman, whether that is a married relationship or not. However, there is nuance that has to be applied to that concept. If you are a single guy, you're a bachelor, you're not married, maybe you're seeing multiple women, you can use overt dread in those situations without a whole lot of risk on your part. I mean, I talk about overt dread, I'm talking about things like ghosting. So, your girl starts getting flaky, she's compliance testing you into oblivion and just making your life difficult, and you don't want to deal with it. You can do things like ghost her, where you go away, you don't answer her calls, you don't call her for a few days on end and see if that's going to fix the problem. Now, when you do that, you obviously have to do that with an abundance mindset. You can't do that from a mindset of scarcity, or you won't do that, because you're going to be too scared that girl's going to leave you, because that is a very real risk. You ghost a girl, you don't talk to her for 2 or 3 days, she may assume that you moved on and go hook up with somebody else. So that is a possibility. Now, if you want to keep that girl around, the other possibility is that she realizes that she was acting in a way that was making your life difficult. It's not the kind of thing that a girl does if she wants to keep a man in her life, and she might correct course. She might not, though. Now, for the married guy, we can't typically go about ghosting our wives. I mean, I think that's not really a great idea, simply for that risk standpoint. We are more invested in our wives. It's different than having a plate that you just have around for a temporary amount of time. We're married, especially if we have kids. I mean, we don't want our wives to leave over the fact that she's compliance testing us. Usually that really points to the fact that we're not owning our business as men anyway. But unless you're prepared to be divorced, I don't suggest doing things that are overtly inducing dread into your wives' lives. Now, what we do have at our disposal is passive dread. Now, when I think of passive dread, what that is a man that's basically showing to his wife that she is not his sole mission, that he has other things in life that he's working toward, that if that relationship were to fail, he would be okay. He would land on his feet, even if it would be a little bit rough in the process. I mean, a life change like that is going to have some tumultuous time to it. But he's showing her by the fact that he has other missions, he has other things he's working toward. She's not his sole mission, and her happiness is not the sole purpose of his life. That is passive dread. When a guy has things that he's doing that are uniquely for him, that he is striving for things that are for him, even if the family would benefit from that, those are his missions, his desires, his ambitions that he's seeking to unleash on the world. We hear these guys talk about happy wife, happy life, and we all know, or we should know, where that ends up. When a guy starts worshiping his woman, makes her his mission, his sole mission, she eventually resents him. No woman wants a man who has no desires of his own, who has nothing that he's working toward to make himself a man of higher value, and is just simply trying to placate to his wife day in and day out and making sure that she is quote-unquote happy. That doesn't make her happy. That will make her resent you. Now let's talk about competition anxiety. So competition anxiety is where a man, particularly a married man, this is not only in marriage, but I'm talking to married men, but I think it is particularly important for married men because they're in it for the long haul. You know, a guy who is in a short-term relationship with a girl, he can display high value as a man for a short amount of time, basically when he meets the girl, and if he may end up losing her if he doesn't stay on his game, but again, the investment isn't there like it is with a man who has a wife and kids. For those of us who have wife and kids, we have to be on our game for the long haul. That means being a man of high value, of high sexual market value throughout the entirety of our marriage. Doesn't matter where we find ourselves in that marriage, whether we've been married for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever. We need to be men who are displaying higher value to our wives. And this is because of the innate hypergamous nature that women possess. They are always looking for, you know, what can I do to be better provided for? What can I do to be better protected? You know, women compete with each other. You know, they want to have the man that is the most ambitious, the most driven, the best looking, the most fit, you know, has the best genes, all of these things. This is their hypergamy showing itself. And there's nothing wrong with this, guys. You know, a lot of guys want to be, they want to demonize women because they show these tendencies. There's nothing wrong with it. This is a survival instinct. This is something they've been designed with. There's nothing wrong with it. They're simply acting on it. It is your job to take responsibility for what you need to do as a man to make sure she's satisfied with you. And the way you do that is you continually work on yourself to be a man of higher value. You work on your skills, you learn new things, you network with other men, you make sure you have a fit physique, you work your intellect by reading books, you can have engaging discussions. You know, you're not just sitting around wasting away watching porn, playing video games, watching sports. You're actually doing things to be a man who has more value to give to the world and to her and to your family. And when you do that, you create that competition anxiety, especially if you're a man who has a sexual market value that she perceives to be higher than her own. And I think that should be every married man's goal, is to have a sexual market value that is higher than that of your wife. At least a little bit. Because that induces constant competition anxiety, even if she knows you're not going anywhere. But my wife knows I'm not going anywhere. She knows I'm committed to her. As long as she's faithful to me, I'm not going anywhere. But you can keep that in the back of her mind, just knowing it keeps her happy, knowing that she has a man that she should be happy with. She has a man that is of high value, and she is protected, she is well provided for, and well sexed because of it. So that's a very short treatise on married dread and competition anxiety. And step number one for you guys, if you're in a marriage and you don't feel like you are ahead of your wife in sexual market value and you're overweight, step number one is get your fitness in order. That is the first thing that anybody sees about you. That not having your fitness in order displays a lack of self-value, a lack of self-discipline to the world. You need to get that in order. That erodes your sexual market value more than anything, at least from an initial impression standpoint. So you need to get that in order. But if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything you want to add to this conversation, you can leave them below the video. Be sure to subscribe so you are updated as I post new videos, and Hunter does so as well. Be on the lookout for that podcast with Adam Lane Smith, where we talk about reinventing ourselves as men in a red pill lens as we are in our marriages. This is particularly for the guys who have came into marriages under a blue pill framework and who need help reinventing themselves as red pill alphas. So that's all I have for today, guys. Give me a follow on Twitter at CraigJamesTFA. Check out the blog at thefamilyalpha.com. And if you want to join a group of men who are committed to living out healthy marriages from a red pill framework, you can join us inside of the Fraternity of Excellence. Do that by going to fraternityofexcellence.com. That's it for today, men. I am out.